We're live. Great. So, yeah. Thanks everyone for being with us today. We're talking a little bit about television, a little bit about advertising and TV, all of it together because it's all together now. I'm Allison Tate, and I write Inheriting Inequality, and I'm here with Michelle.
I'm Michelle Teheux, and I write Untrickled. And I have never been a big TV fan, but TV today is a lot better than TV was when I was growing up. And my husband and I, stream certain things, and of course we're very cheap, so we always have to have the. We don't have the ad-free version, but it really struck me after some time when we were busy and just hadn't really watched any, and then I was bombarded with all these ads, and it really struck me like, wow, these ads are so misleading. If all you knew about the US was what
Mhm.
you saw from advertising,
Yeah.
you would really think this was a utopia, honestly. And then if you further watch some of the shows around it, unless, with very few exceptions, you would think, yep, definitely everybody is really well off. Everyone has a beautiful home, a really nice, expensive car. Everyone is perfectly groomed. Everyone has well behaved children and beautiful yards. I mean, it's just complete perfection in every way.
Yeah. Yeah, and you just wrote about this. So you just wrote a post the other day. It was called the Advertised American, and you kind of went into this in depth. And you said basically that the average American doesn't exist, and what we say or what we mean when we say average American is really the advertised American. That was the gist of the post. So I was actually curious when I was reading the post, and now that I get to talk to you about it, were you thinking of a particular example when you wrote that? Was there something you've been watching that sort of struck you, or was it just an accumulation of watching all of the things?
The one that really made it pop into my head, and it's ironic that I use the word pop, was
Hmm.
there was a Target ad. And
Uh-huh.
Target ad, everyone looked like they had just done a whole lot of really good drugs. They were just so happy. And they made a little pop noise every time somebody plucked off like a lipstick from a shelf or
Okay.
picked up a pair of jeans. They made like a little popping noise.
Uh-huh.
And everyone like, oh my God, lipstick. Oh my God, a pair of shorts. Nothing has ever been so wonderful in my life before. And of course,
So we're not sure if they were just average or actually just like on some kind of substance. That we don't know that.
I mean, I've been to Target and I haven't seen overwhelmingly beautiful, ecstatic people there before, but
Uh-huh.
maybe that's just my Target. Maybe in other
Yeah.
Targets, everyone does look like a model and is deliriously happy and perfectly
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards, but
No, I think there's a lot there, and I wanna come back to that, but I wanted to ask you first, because I also thought, like, who watches ads anymore? Do we actually see ads anymore even? Like, we rarely even see ads. Like, when do you sit and watch through an ad?
this is a very much a class-based, yet another class-based question.
Right.
My son, who doesn't have children, lives on his own, and doesn't spend any money on anything ever, does spend money to have the ad-free experience with every single thing he has.
Right.
He comes over and I sometimes stream Pandora when he's here when we're sitting
Mhm.
outside. And he's like, how can you stand these ads? Because it's
Right.
up to him to pay to avoid the ads. And
Yeah.
I try to tune them out. But I also find it interesting what ads are served to me because it's not like the olden days when you were seeing the same ads everybody else saw.
So this is what's interesting, right? So, I mean, if the ads are basically targeted at people who aren't paying to get rid of the ads, it's somewhat ironic and odd, right, that they're targeting because you're targeting at a person who either can't or won't pay to get rid of ads.
But they're going to go to Target and buy everything with great.
Right. So it's an interesting phenomenon. I mean, obviously, even if you choose to, opt out by paying of ads, you still see advertisements, right? Which was one of your other points. Um, is that everybody's a walking advertisement, right? You watch any type of TV show and there are placements everywhere, and you look on obviously social media, but even just within shows, everything is actually advertising is no longer just in the ads, right? There's no longer a really clean boundary between what's the show and what's the advertisement. So even if you do opt out, you are, and again, pay to opt out, you are still watching advertisements. You just don't see the really bad ones The only ones I ever see are, for prescription drugs, I'll be
Oh
honest.
god, yes.
Like, those are the ones I get all the time, so I don't know what algorithm, like, has found me because I really don't need, Viagra, which I see advertised a lot, but I have basically every type of prescription drug advertised to me, as well as diapers, which again, I don't need. So, like, I don't really know how the advertising, overlord of algorithms is working there, but it's interesting.
Well, I always find it interesting to see the drug ads because, once again, my husband, the Dutch guy, says you do not see these ads in Europe. It's not allowed.
Yeah.
And really, it shouldn't be allowed because I am not qualified to decide what drugs I should take.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
people go to their doctor and like, I want this drug because
Mhm.
I've got something a weird spot on my pinky nail. So I heard that there's like this new drug that will clear up a little blotch on
Right.
your pinky nail. And yes, I know that it can cause liver failure and death and for you to
Right.
grow up 2 heads, but I want it.
Right.
Apparently, that does work. Apparently, people do walk into the doctor and say, "I want this drug,"
Which
because
is funny because I feel like most of the drugs that are advertised to me are immunotherapy drugs and, like, anti-cancer drugs, so you're not gonna just walk in and be like, "Could I please have some immunotherapy?" Like, "Yeah, I would love to have Keytruda, please," you know? It's not something you just walk in for.
and how have you noticed how you will see, it'll be a picture of these 2 beautiful people frolicking in a park, looking like they're having the
Yeah.
best in their life, and the voiceover is telling you, "This drug could cause this drug could cause that. It could cause you to
Right.
have a terrible thing and this other thing. Your eyeballs may fall out. Your hair may turn green. Your
Right.
ear may explode." But they're, like,
Right.
exalted.
And to be clear, they're actually taking the drug for some type of right, some type of late stage metastatic cancer, so they're probably not frolicking in a field, but that's a whole nother conversation about, pharmaceuticals. But so I guess I was curious about, which advertising goes to whom, and you would think, given that we do have such segmented and targeted advertising, that people would get better you would get better ads that were more suited to you. And so maybe you would get something that was more in line with where you were shopping, what you're doing. But I think part of your point is that no matter who you are, you get ads that give you a very unrealistic idea of what people look like. Number one, well, first of all, how happy they are. We'll put that to the side.
Nobody's
What
in
they
yeah.
look like and what they're buying and what type of what their supposedly middle class lifestyle looks like.
Oh, I also particularly love the ones around Christmas time that show a car with a giant bow attached to it, like,
Oh
"What,
yeah.
did your husband not buy you a car for Christmas? And did you not buy him one back? What is there something wrong with your marriage? Why would you not buy each other
What kind of
this?"
terrible spouse do you have? That always just makes me think of when Oprah gave away all the cars. I will never forget the whole thing because I always use it as an example in tax when we talk about unintended consequences and everyone that had to pay taxes on the cars that she gave them.
I
Um,
mean, if someone wants to give me a car because I do need to replace my old car and we're, like, looking around right now. If anybody does wanna give me a car, I will not complain one bit about having to pay taxes on the price of the car. So, just hit me up, send me a message, let me know what kind of car you'd like to give
yeah,
me.
you're like, just send it, just put it in the driveway, it's fine.
I do insist there be a large bow.
Yeah, of
There
course.
needs to be a large
Someone says, "Do you live with anyone?" Sometimes you get, fed ads based on your texts or verbal conversations or them or their tastes, right? That's the funny thing. I just live with my cats and they don't want prescription drugs. I mean, they do take Xanax, but that's all.
Oh
Uh,
god, the funniest story. I am being inundated with ads for bunion-related products, and I don't have
okay.
this. So I thought, well, maybe it's my age or something, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm getting flooded with them, like and then I realized I had been joking with a friend of mine because he was dating this woman who needed to have bunion surgery, and she felt he was not attentive enough to her while she was being laid up with the bunion surgery, and she broke up with him. So now I bring up bunions constantly. Like, if I haven't heard from this friend for a while, I'll be like, "Oh, you just can't imagine how much my bunions hurt."
Yeah.
Kind of I'm sorry, but making fun of his ex-girlfriend a little bit and, like, mentioning bunions in every
Yeah.
conversation, and somewhere or other, the algorithms are like, "This is a woman with a serious bunion problem. She talks about it. She's talked about her bunions a lot." And, like, I don't even have bunions. I haven't done a search for bunions, um,
Yeah.
but if I should ever get bunions, I now know
Well,
there
now
are
you now
a lot
know,
you
right?
can do about it.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So based on what we've been talking about with what is happening with the advertisements and people are whether you're well, let's just say the actual explicit ads where people look great and may or may not be taking recreational drugs, but are going to Target and everybody looks great. And even just not the Target ones, right? The ads where everyone looks shiny and happy and healthy and well dressed and, a nice car in the garage. So what is that like telling us? What is that? What are we like? What do we take away from that?
Well, we're being presented with a really unrealistic view of what life is really like. And a lot of people will see that and feel like, without not consciously, but they'll feel like, I definitely need to have my hair done.
Mhm.
need better makeup. I need better clothes. I need better everything.
Yeah.
I need to whip out my credit card and spend some money.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. So, I mean, first of all, you're being sold consumer, like a certain consumer lifestyle, right? There's certain, and I guess part of this is that it's setting a baseline. There's setting a baseline of what you should have to be sort of an average person, right? Like what you need as an average person has increased maybe over the last number of years. So it's trying to set a standard for what people need. Maybe is that part of it?
I think so. And
Or what I mean, and I mean need not
need.
right, yeah,
So one of the things that a lot of people have talked about this is a really obvious thing to bring up, but our houses have gotten larger by and
yeah,
large. And like the house that I used to own, I bought it when I was a single mom after my divorce, and it was just a little 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom
yeah,
because I was thinking I was never going to get married again. And
yeah,
then I almost immediately decided to get remarried. And when my husband moved, all of a sudden with 4 people, it really felt uncomfortable, especially the bathroom situation. So we
mm,
bought house that I'm in now, which is way too large. It's because my children have grown out. It's
yeah,
just me, my husband, and our 2 old dogs, and this house is at least twice, if not 3 times bigger than we really need if we were looking for a house. But that's an anomaly that my old house, my oldest house, because this is a really old house, is larger than any of my newer houses were because in general, houses have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger with a very slight decrease just in the last few years.
yeah,
And it makes sense because you've got economies of a scale. If you're building a gigantic, expensive house as a builder, it's more profitable than buying a lot and putting in all the the foundation costs the same, the
mhm,
putting in sewer lines cost the same. You might as well build a big, fancy, luxurious house rather than a modest house. But that's why people can't afford their housing. We quit building these gigantic houses. Or, I mean, we quit building the houses that were make more sense for smaller families. And half the time, our household numbers have gone down.
yeah,
We're not commonly having 4 children. People are commonly having 0 or just 1. There's a lot of
right,
people
we've already talked about it, people are underbabied, so
who are underbabied
right,
and are also underspoused. Like
right,
my son lives in he rents from me my house that I wasn't able to sell it. So I'm renting it out and he's an adult. And so he was thrilled to move into one of his childhood houses. He doesn't need 3 bedrooms.
yeah,
He doesn't even have a dog or cat. It's just him. He, like, doesn't even use half the space. He uses his kitchen, his bathroom, and his bedroom, which is, I think, is where he basically lives, or
mhm,
I think he's turned my daughter's old bedroom into his gaming room, so he uses 4 rooms.
yeah,
Kitchen, barely. Bathroom,
fair,
and then the room he sleeps in, the room that he games and reads.
yeah,
I don't think he ever steps foot in his old bedroom. I don't think he the carpeting in the living room is pristine. It has barely been walked on.
yeah,
His furniture in his living room has almost never been used. He's just not a he's not a TV watch.
so people have bigger houses, people need more stuff in their houses, there's
He's
also
happy living that
yeah,
way. That's all he wants. And yet he's living in a house that a generation ago would have housed most likely a complete family with children.
yeah, so one thing to blame maybe is the difference in how in sort of like domestic space and lifestyles. I mean, there's also just a superabundance of products, right? And just I think I mean, people have written about this too. The the surfeit, like the huge number
My
of
computer is frozen. Is yours?
uh oh, there you're back.
Back.
You're back.
Uh, we're saying?
Oh, I was just saying now there's also just the number of consumer products available, right, is also just so much larger. We have so many more consumer products and, people have written about this a lot, the idea of lots of little luxuries, right? And I think I think when I think about it, I think about this as, getting rid of sort of the commercials or the ads that are targeted at maybe having people look different or targeted at a working class audience. It's also taking away the opportunity to have sort of a class solidarity, right? To like understand that you're being fed different types of things, and it's kind of flattening, and people have talked about this a lot, flattening what people should be buying and what people should be looking like, and a flattening of sort of consumer desire into various channels,
I
which
think
is
we're
interesting in this like incredibly variegated media world, right, where everything is personalized and bespoke.
well, again, we used to all see more or less the same TV.
Yeah,
There were just a few channels that I'm going back to my childhood, so I'm talking about, like, the '70s and probably the '80s, and then I lost track of TV in the '90s, but everybody used to watch Cheers, for instance, just
yeah,
all off. Everybody watched it, but there are TV shows I hear people talk about now that I have never heard of,
yeah,
and if well, then it's like I can see that clearly they're very popular, but
yeah.
I've never heard of them. And, they haven't heard of the one I'll mention something I watched, and they may have never have heard of what I watched,
Uh-huh.
and very different music. There weren't nearly as many choices,
Yeah,
and it's great to have choices, but also too many choices is stressful. I mean,
right,
they've documented that there's only so many decisions you can make in a day, and you can exhaust yourself just figuring out what to wear and how to wear your hair
right.
and what to have for breakfast, and by the time you get to lunch, you've made a bajillion decisions, and you've got decision fatigue. So, then you get lazy, like, then it's like you've had a long day of work, you've already made a million decisions, and now the decision is what to have for dinner. You may well just order in from whatever commercial place you saw, like, "I'm just gonna order this one food."
Yeah, so it is interesting. I mean, and again, there's lots on this. The idea that we all used to watch some of the same things, right? Because it was you didn't have the cable explosion, so everyone watched. I remember my parents watching the nightly news, and there were three different stations, right? People watched the same shows, and people had, people talk about this as like water cooler material and
Mhm.
having common cultural touchstones, which is something that we don't have anymore. I mean, obviously, the darker part of this is that we also no longer have cultural understandings. We don't watch the same news sources, right? We don't watch the same things, so we have completely different perspectives on what's happening both culturally and politically because we don't watch the same things, and everybody exists in their own separate and distinct media environment. So we don't have that, but it's as interesting as I think. So if you think, I was thinking maybe like 70s, 80s, you did have, and I'm just moving to TV shows now and not ads, but you did have TV shows that showed working class families.
Well, I'm not a big fan of Roseanne, but her original TV show,
Yeah.
that was a really, accurate portrayal of the type of people that I grew up with. That was
Mhm.
what I thought was normal life. A kinda pokey house,
Yeah.
not beautifully color coordinated,
Yeah.
things don't always work right, uh, there's not always enough money for your basic
Right.
that's what I grew up that's how I grew up in my small town, and then out into the world, I realized that's not how I hesitate to say the average person, but I realized that's not the way people in other circles live,
Yeah.
and I hadn't really been exposed to those other circles when I was growing up because that's just how life is, and so if you're a child that grew up in a much more, high income area, and if you're surrounded by people who are degreed professionals working high paying, white collar jobs and things like that, you have a different, you have this internalized view of what is
Right,
America.
but you could have seen on TV, you could have watched a show that had somebody who was different than you, right? Like I, growing up in a different circumstance, watched Roseanne, or I watched like Married with Children or things like that, and I got a little window into families that were different than mine, right? And so there were actually TV shows that showed people who were in working class jobs, and I don't think we have those anymore.
Although I will say, working as a shoe salesman at the mall, Al Bundy would not have been able to afford that house.
Yeah. I was gonna say we had well, there was let's see, there was Roseanne or Married with Children. I mean, All in the Family was sort of the precursor, right? When you had,
Yeah,
All in the
that
Family. You had a
that's
number of shows like even Cheers, right? Like, uh, what was his name? Cliff, the guy who was the you had a postal carrier. You had people who did all kinds of different jobs. So you
at
had a
one
range of people in the bar.
we saw the apartment of, what was Shelley Duvall's character? Diane. We saw Diane's apartment at one point, and it was a really nice apartment. I don't remember details, but I remember noticing, like, that's an awfully nice New York or is it New York or
Boston, yeah, they're in Boston.
it's a pretty nice apartment for someone who
Yeah.
works at a bar
Yeah,
because
she was supposed to have, I think, a little bit of family money, right? Because she was fancy, and that was the whole, like,
maybe she
setup,
had some family money, but,
right?
in my experience
She was fancy, and Sam was, like, the normal guy, the average guy.
but there's, like, a whole long list of, TV shows and movies you can see in which someone is presented as having, living a situation that is completely out of proportion to what they're
Yeah,
supposed.
so I think that critique, like, started really strongly in the '90s, I was thinking, like, I mean, Friends is always the example that people give, right? Like, nobody in Friends has a job that would make you over, at the time, was whatever amount, and they had these beautiful apartments in New York and, spent their day in the cafe talking, and, half the time they were unemployed, no one knows what some of them did. Monica was a chef, and there were a lot of articles at the time, and that was also then they kind of continued. I remember with Sex in the City, people were
I
like,
was gonna say Sex and the
"How does
City.
Carrie Bradshaw have that apartment?"
Why is she not buying her shoes at Payless Shoe Source?
Right. She's
I
definitely
remember
like, right, how does she I mean, I remember some article where they figured out, with the number of Manolos that she had in her closet, like, how much she had spent on Manolos or shoes. She had various brands, but, like, how much she had spent on shoes, and it was definitely more than she would have been earning by her 1 column a week, which is funny because in the reboot, it it at least is very honest, right? Because she inherits millions of dollars from Big, and that's when she buys her little place on Gramercy.
yeah, but having, written columns for a living and many other things, I can tell you, I was not making on the money to buy designer shoes or live in New York when I was, sitting paper columnist. I
Yeah.
was kind of money that would have allowed me to shop at Payless Shoe Service or Shoe Source and
Mhm.
probably rent a room in a dodgy neighborhood at best.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting because I don't think we have a lot of shows anymore that depict, right, like, sort of working class families where people can watch and people could see themselves, or people could see a family that was different than them, and to, like, have that not being represented culturally, I think is kind of problematic, right? To not have a cultural representation of, like, all different kind of socioeconomic groups.
So the people who are making decisions, the people who are, sitting, like the people on the Fed, the people who are running everything, basically, all the upper politicians, if they tune out and, watch some mindless TV one night, they will get the message that everybody in America is doing just fine. Here's an example that there was a show called Atypical, which was
Mhm.
a really good show,
I
and
remember that.
yeah,
Yeah.
um,
I've
the
watched everything, so don't worry, like, you can I've watched them
the
all.
the main character, is autistic. He's a very high functioning, very intelligent autistic young man.
Had, what was that woman's name? She was in all those '80s movies, Leah,
Um,
whatever her name was. Yeah.
but the father in Atypical worked on as a paramedic. And again, I know a lot of paramedics, and it's not a high paying profession. You would not have that job at all, or excuse me, you wouldn't have a house. That is not a paramedic salary that is paying was paying for the house of the family in Atypical, not by a long shot. And th that's just you can find that with almost everything you watch. It's like the person has a job that you happen to know pays, maybe okay, but not
Yeah.
great, but yet they've got this great, great house.
Yeah.
It's never a realistic depiction.
Yeah.
And people who do not actually know any poor working class, even lower middle class people, they get their idea of what that life is like by watching TV. And the conclusion is everybody's doing fine.
Right, and this is, like, kind of what I think, right? The idea that, like, we don't see the range of people and the range of families and what they're talking about. And the other thing with things like with shows like Roseanne and All in the Family and Married with Children, it wasn't just that they depicted families who were supposed to be working class families, but they also talked about class actively,
Mm.
right? Like, they actively identified in a way, they actively talked about money, they actively talked about not being able to afford something, or, you know, they they talked about money in a way that I don't think you see anymore.
Oh, there was a segment on Roseanne, the early original Roseanne, in which she was showing her husband, Dan, how she handles the bills, and
Mhm.
have to pay everything. She's like, "You put the power bill in the envelope for the electric for the phone, you put the phone bill in the envelope with the electric," and the idea being that it would slow things down, but they would give you credit like, "Oh, well, they mean to pay." And
Yeah.
then by that was sorted out, she'd have enough money to,
Yeah.
she money to pay them both, but she didn't have enough to pay them on the day they were due. Well, I
Mhm.
would not recommend that method, and especially because who is even writing checks to mail them off now? But, I have no doubt that many people did that, and, oh, and post-dating checks, people used to post-date checks all the time, and I knew a woman who she had worked in a bank. I'm sure this doesn't work now, but she would take that little bit at the very bottom where you have the code on the check, and she
Uh-huh.
put a pinhole in a certain spot, which would mean it could not go through the automated
Ah,
equipment, and it would take it longer to process. It would
right.
be a couple of days to
Amazing. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. You don't see, tricks like that anymore
Yeah.
because you don't do checks, but,
But also, you
more
just
than
like you
that.
said, you just don't hear people talking about money or class in on the low end of the wealth spectrum. Now, what's interesting is that what you do see, like, tons and tons of, and it's one of my favorite genres, but, like, dysfunctional rich people, like, that's a huge category and
Oh, yeah.
genre. And so, like, it's interesting to me that the most political awareness that we have around money comes from these sort of, like, each kind of eat the rich shows, which both glorify but vilify rich people at the same time, right? Like Succession or White Lotus or shows like that. Um, and that's like that I think that's where you see the biggest source of political consciousness right now around money and class. But again, as I said, I don't know. I think they do double work, right? They make you want the things, right? Like you want that house in the Hamptons because you're like, it is a nice house, but also you feel the inequality at the same time. I don't know, do you watch any of those?
I saw the first 2 seasons of White Lotus, and I
Yeah,
read about a million words on the 3rd season. I don't even need to watch it. I don't have to that, channel anymore, but, I really, really, really liked, both, uh, seasons of
uh-huh.
this that I saw, and the Jennifer Coolidge I had never seen Jennifer Coolidge because I had never
You
seen
never watched American Pie?
I never I haven't seen it, and so
Yeah,
many things that are like classic TV things,
yeah,
uh I just kinda dropped out from watching TV for years. My husband is like, "I was in Europe and I saw that show. How could you not see that or know that song?" or whatever, like, I
yeah,
wasn't paying attention to pop culture at all. But
right.
I did watch the first 2 seasons of White Lotus. That is where I learned about Jennifer Coolidge, who I immediately became a fan.
Sure.
God, she reminded me so much of a really genuinely rich person that I used to have in my circle.
Mhm.
And the reason that person isn't in my circle anymore is because she was an awful lot like that character, only arguably much, much worse. Uh,
Uh-huh,
some of the crazy things she said that showed that she had never, ever worried about
yeah,
money in the slightest in her life,
yeah,
um, were just outrageously money blind,
yeah.
and sometimes it just made me gasp, and I grew to begin taking great, pleasure in popping the bubbles as she blew them because, like, one day she was, like, just wandering aimlessly through the grocery store on Easter Sunday, and I said, I'll call her Jennifer Coolidge. I said, "Why go to the store for no random reason on Easter?" I'm like, "I really try to stay out of the stores if it unless it's an absolute emergency on a holiday because those retail workers, if everybody's gonna shop on those days, the stores are open. If everybody stayed home, those retail workers could have a day off." And she said, "Well, they chose to work on this holiday." I said, "Wait." She said, "Yeah, because they get paid extra." I said,
Mm,
uh, having worked plenty of those jobs in the past, like, I don't think that's the case. So I
right.
challenged to because she's of course, she was also the type that was always talking on her phone the whole time she's wandering aimlessly and putting random things in her cart. I said, "Ask a few of the workers." And she was absolutely dumbfounded to learn that they were basically told, "You will come in on the holiday or else you will be fired."
Yeah.
And someone said, "Well, the reason I'm here is I haven't worked here very long. The people who have been here a long time are able to put in for the holiday,
You're right.
but, if you're a relatively new employee, you're gonna work the holidays because that's just the way it works at a lot of places." And
Yeah.
she did not believe it. And, oh, and then no, they're not getting any overtime of any sort. They're just getting paid their regular, close to minimum wage job so
Yeah.
that people like Jennifer Coolidge can walk through and be like, "I don't know, maybe I'll buy this. I don't know, maybe I'll buy that."
I thought you were gonna say, Tracy says, "It's only a banana, Michael. What could it cost?" I thought you were gonna go I thought the story was gonna go that route with somebody, like, not knowing what something costs. That is one of the best television lines ever in Arrested Development. "It's only
Oh,
a banana. What could it cost? $10."
and,
Fantastic.
sometimes reporters will ask a given politician, like,
Yeah.
ask Bill Gates what a loaf of bread costs. He didn't have a clue. Bill Gates has his own grocery shopping for many decades.
I
Um,
mean, I grocery shop all the time, and, it's like yeah, I don't know if I could tell you. But different bread costs different things. That's what I know.
but,
Do you watch White Lotus? Did you watch any other of the rich people problem shows?
oh gosh, throw a couple of them out there.
Oh, there's a ton, I love them. I mean, right now I'm watching Your Friends and Neighbors, which is very good.
Haven't seen that one.
Okay. It's got John Hamm in it, and he
Oh,
steals from, I mean, like, every heterosexual woman over, like, 40 likes John Hamm, come on. Um, he's basically a finance bro who got fired, and so he's turned to a life of crime, and he's stealing from his neighbors, and, it's actually interesting because I was wondering this. So he steals from his neighbors, and he basically the whole idea this is
if
kind of
anybody can see anything.
he only steals, like, what they won't miss. So he steals from his friends. He goes when they're away from the weekend, he goes in and steals things, but things that, like, small little things that they have kind of, like, left in a drawer and will never miss, that type of thing. So when he goes into the house, he'll take, like, a pair of Cartier cufflinks or something, and on the screen, it will show you the product, right? Cartier, whatever type
Think
of.
we're frozen again.
Oh, no.
Okay, you said, he'll take a pair of cufflinks and
Sorry, Cartier. So,
fro
he'll take a pair of Cartier cufflinks, and then on the screen, you'll see a depiction. You'll see you'll see the cufflinks, and you'll see, the brand, the name of that particular type of cufflink, and you'll see how much they are. And it's funny because I was like, it's obviously a device used in the show to kind of like show the, just crazy amounts of wealth that people in his circle leave sitting around in a drawer and they don't even know is there. But I was also wondering, I was like, "Is this an ad?" Right? Because it's, like,
oh,
literally just selling you a Cartier cufflink.
I think some of these, ad placements, at first it was like, they pick up a Coke and they're, like, holding up the Coke
Right.
during a dramatic scene, and that's what it is. But these ad placements have gotten really good. One great example, I was on Facebook scrolling, and I got sucked into this stupid, really long story about, this husband and wife were driving home, and the weather was terrible. They couldn't see, they felt unsafe, and so the man said to his wife, "We're just a couple of miles away from my ex-wife's house. I think we should go there for shelter." And the woman
Mhm.
felt, "Oh gosh, and I'm wearing sweatpants and my hair's not done. I'm gonna feel so," and that woman is, like, so graceful and, like, so beautiful, and I'm gonna feel like such an ugly duckling, but we're in a life-threatening weather situation.
Yeah.
And they
Just like,
go to
what is
her
that
house.
or death? So, okay.
So they go to the ex-wife's, house, and of course, she looks wonderful, and, she's, like, very gracious, and she sends them to the spare bedroom, and
Mhm.
nothing had been going on in the bedroom for a while between this husband and wife. The bed was so comfortable that they had, like, this great night of romance, and the next morning, they were talking to the ex-wife talks about, like, "Those are my linen sheets." And I get them from the
Oh
Rich
my
Earth
god.
Linens Company, and
Uh-huh.
people in the comments, we were all like, "That is the best ad for,
Right.
I have seen." I was really invested in the story,
Right.
which you thought was about a woman feeling insecure, being compared to her husband's previous wife. Like, no, 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 no. This is about the sheets. They
Yeah.
had sex
About the
because of the
sheets.
sheets.
Yeah.
If you are having problems in your relationship, maybe you just need an expensive pair of really nice linen shoes.
Right? some Freddy sheets would be just what you need, not only to rekindle the romance, but to really, make
And
your evening and your sleep good.
and in my as far as I recall, there was not a link to that company. You
Mm,
had to go Google
yeah,
which one's linen company or whatever,
right,
because that's smart too because I Facebook does not like you to include links in your
right, yeah,
so these people, whoever wrote, I tip my hat to whatever digital copywriter, a job I have once held. I
mhm,
tip my hat to whoever wrote that because the entire time you think you are reading a short little story about insecurity of a woman,
right,
and like, no, it's just about sheets,
yeah,
and we're gonna tell you where they are. But of course, we're going to mention the name.
yeah,
You will Google it, so that's going to help us get more seen.
yeah.
The whole thing was genius, honestly, and but the vast majority of Americans will read that and not know that it was an ad, believe
So
me.
this goes back to kind of where we started because I think it is interesting in the sense that advertising has changed so radically and that most of it's embedded within the shows. And so what used to be, I mean, I remember when I was like little, you had the commercial and you went like you ran and wanted to see if you could go to the bathroom in the time and it was like or get a snack in the time that the commercial took, and then you would get back to the TV. Somebody would yell at you and they'd be like, "Get back! Like it's starting." And obviously, that's like not at all what happens anymore. We've talked about, right? You can pay to opt out of ads. You can watch different platforms that have zero ads. You can watch in a lot of different ways. So that type of advertising is no longer there, but they are embedded in the shows, which makes it more problematic that there are very few shows that depict you know the daily sort of lives of working class people, because then you also don't have that product placement, right? Like you're never going to be marketing to a person in that socioeconomic group. You're always going to be advertising, like as you put in your, last that post that we're talking about, an aspirational lifestyle.
Mhm. Well, you don't often see ads that would I mean, who wants to market to, people who are poor, people who are
Right.
poor, they
That is true.
spend money on their basic needs, with
But this is capitalism. Capitalism markets to everybody. Everybody has a little extra to spend, right? Come on.
or, I'm surprised maybe I just haven't seen them. Are there a lot of, payday loans? Oh, I do see ads for, there's some guy who has a company that if you've got a settlement, but you want the money right now,
Yeah.
is it like JG Wentworth or something like
Yeah.
that?
Huh? I've heard the So
And
that's actually, yeah, that's yeah, go ahead, sorry.
yeah, but, the place where the working class people who don't have a lot of money, they're not gonna go out and buy an expensive new car, that's an impossibility,
Right.
but they might buy
Yeah.
the small splurges. You really can't live never buying anything that isn't not for very I mean, it'll beat you into the ground. You have to have a few small pleasures,
Right. Well,
and
not
it's
with just
that much
clothes, right? Like a sweater or jeans or things like that. I mean, you could use a range of people in the ads. I mean, this is one of the things. I mean, ads, even in this new form, right? Ads are obviously trying to produce a certain form of reality by creating this aspirational lifestyle and creating this aspirational American, right? So we're gonna have it. So they're trying to produce a certain type of lifestyle, but they're also reflecting, and so they could be used to sort of reflect things in an interesting and new way. I mean, one of the things that you I kind of noticed in advertising, which they don't do it all that well, but they've been efforts, right? There's efforts to have um, for cleaning products, they show men cleaning every once in a while, and you're like, "Oh, look at that. Oh my god, he knows how to mop." And it's
you
so
should marry Kelly.
right, right, right. You're like, "Look at the man mopping, it's so exciting." So you have some ads so you can see how ads both produce and reflect what's happening, and so they're a space to actually try to produce new realities, but they're not doing that, especially with, like, class-based understandings of the world.
You see a lot more racial diversity, though, in
Mhm.
advertisements, and you commonly see interracial,
Yeah,
ups. You sometimes see
yep,
gay relationships, not as often, but you do sometimes see them. You
right.
see shows. It got to the point where, when my husband and I were watching, like, a new show, the first time someone who's LGBTQ came on the screen, I'd say, "Oh, there is the legally required, L"
Look what we're doing, right? Yeah.
to be clear, like, I'm glad that we're getting greater representation, but it's really, really clear that at some point they're like, "So who are our characters gonna be? We need somebody
Right,
who's Asian,
right.
who's either gay or trans or asexual." I mean, it's good, but it's also a little bit like,
I mean, it's a form of tokenism, right? It's
yeah,
like all of the marketing things that the universities do, right? You have to include
an
in the picture
there.
for you gotta have a diversity of people and which is obviously something that's desirable, but also can be done in a way that's very tokenistic, right? But
Yeah,
I do think though that right, you do see a lot more ads that feature a variety and diversity of people, and that's like as it should be, and it's good. And so again, advertising could be used as a sort of a creative space for people to help people right change the way that they understand. I mean, television has done that. People have talked about right the very strong role of TV in producing new understandings around awareness and sort of empathy for LGBTQ plus right communities, right? I mean, through just something like Will and Grace, right? People watching TV shows.
I never saw that, but I feel as if I saw it because people have talked about it so much.
I mean, the best character was Karen, so you
Yeah.
probably feel the little. She was drunk all the time. Very funny. But again, like, it was a show that, it was kind of like Roseanne in the way that it brought into, like, cultural space, families, and relationships that hadn't been in that space before, and it gave people a way of understanding something new, and if all we have is this sort of as aspirationally average American, right? Not average, but, like, the aspiration is all the same to the same kind of, like, middle upper class lifestyle. It doesn't give us much that's creative, and it doesn't give us new ways to understand other people.
It's I don't know if you could ever answer this, it's a chicken and egg question, but did, TV shows and advertising become more racially and, I don't know if you say LGBTQ plus, however you would word that, but did they start having more diversity because that was what America was starting to look like? Or are they leading America into a more diverse, viewpoint by presenting it more? And I think that they both feed on each other, and I don't really know. But also with, since certain segments of the population decided things like woke was a bad word, which I don't think it was.
Radical conservatives, yes,
And
decided
and
to
I
take that as a word and weaponize it against people, yeah,
so I would say, it takes a while to make a TV show, obviously. Those that, they don't just get one, right away. So
yeah.
I think that there was, a really large cultural push towards showing a diversity of people, and not so much the socioeconomically diverse group that I'd like to see included, but, I mean, it's gonna be a rich being or trans person or a rich Black person or Asian person or something like but it's a start. But is it is that was that in response to sort of the zeitgeist being different, 5 years let's just say pre-Trump? Because we were all at least giving lip service. We now see that not everybody believed it, but everybody just about was giving lip service to thinking diversity was a good thing. And now there is a large cultural movement coming from the right saying like, no, 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 no. Everybody should just be white and straight and Christian. So are our TV
Right.
shows going to become more straight, white, and Christian in another 5 years? Or, you
Well,
know,
it's interesting to think of how that will also shape things, like shape cultural production moving forward in terms of like what people are looking to see. I mean, I think of shows that have been produced that I think are trying to uh appeal to, like, a more conservative demographic. I think of, like, the Hunting Wives was on Netflix and a bunch of, like, basically, like, conservative Christian-y white women in Texas, and I assume it's, meant to appeal to the same,
Mhm.
and so if you're going to actually see more products like that, more cultural products like that, but I feel I don't know. I'm interested, like, anybody in the chat, like, tell me, like, if there are shows that I'm not thinking of, but I don't see a huge move yet, but, it could be coming, right? Like you said, things are in the pipeline for a long time. Yeah,
Yeah, I'd love it if anybody anybody in those circles could say like, we are developing so many shows
yeah,
about religious white people.
Yeah, I've never yeah, I mean, I I probably wouldn't watch it. I don't know, I watch a lot. I watch anything. But the I mean, people have caught on to the idea that the dysfunctional rich person show is interesting, and those are definitely, like, top in production, I think. I always like it because every once in a while I get calls from people who are, like, trying to develop scripts because they wanna know how a trust works.
Mm,
And they're like, "Oh, we found you, and you look like you're a law professor who knows about trust." I'm like, "I do." So
mm.
they wanna, like, talk about they wanna, like, spin out this story that they've developed and see if it, like, actually flies. I mean, it doesn't really matter because most of the we all know that, like, all of these shows have legal things that actually are not at all
Oh,
realistic, but they,
yeah.
like, run it by me, and it's always fun to hear the stories.
Well, this is a little bit off topic, but it illustrates your point perfectly. Everybody assumes that if you marry a citizen, you're automatically a citizen. I have heard that from so many people. I've seen it
Right.
as a device used in movies and shows. The last minute, somebody who thinks you're going to get kicked out of the country. There was a case like this on Kimmy Schmidt, or what is that? What that show was called? Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
Unstoppable.
Kimmy Schmidt, yeah. Another John Hamm moment, speaking of John Hamm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So in that show, there was a moment where somebody suddenly got married so they wouldn't have to leave the country. And I was at a doctor's appointment with my husband the other day, and I made some offhand comment about how, oh, he asked if we were going to do any traveling this summer. And I said, because my husband has a green card, we don't think it's safe for him to get on a plane right now anyway. And he's like, well, you guys are married. What's the problem? Like, no, no, no. He's totally legal, but he's a permanent resident. And
Mhm.
that's not as safe as it used to be. And we're not going to fly out of the country because he might not be able to get back in. So, like, we're not flying anywhere. The doctor, obviously an educated man, honestly believes that if you marry a citizen, you're home free. That is so not the case.
Yeah. I feel like there was that movie, it was, probably in the '90s that or no, 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 the one with Andy McDowell and Gérard Depardieu, where he, like, married her for the green card.
Oh, was it
So
the one green card, I think?
yeah, green card,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I just remember they had to, like, go and fabricate all those photos, so they, like, pretended they were in in a ski chalet, or they pretended they were at the beach, and they had all these photos that they were gonna give to the immigration officers. Yeah.
And I get that that's a comedy, but it makes it harder for people who genuinely did just wanna
Right.
get
Right.
married.
Right.
Believe me, my husband didn't come to America for the healthcare or the food or the non-union representation or, the coffee or the chocolate, or the wine or the beer or the french fries.
Mhm.
He came here just to marry me, which is why I have got to be nice to him because he gave up so
If
much.
you're then you gotta give him a car for Christmas, like you said. Like, get on it.
I need a whole lot more paid subscriptions right now if I'm gonna buy him a car for Christmas. No, no, he gave up a lot to come to the US, and, one of the things he gave up was, the ability to watch a TV show without being completely crushed by just ads for
Yeah,
things that shouldn't even be legally advertised like drug ads. Every time one comes on, he can't let it go. "Why am I seeing this ad?
yeah.
Am I a doctor? Am I gonna prescribe
And
this?"
your son's like, "This is why I pay to get rid of the ads." Right? Yeah.
There are cultural references that go right over my
Right
son's
over
head
yeah.
because he has not seen. I mean, I don't watch as much TV as the average person, but I am watching more now.
Mhm.
I'm seeing it, like, on the Tubies, and I don't even know what else. Even Netflix has ads now,
Yeah.
but my is like, "I've never heard of that product. I've never seen that commercial. I do not know what you're talking about."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't watch the ads if I have to if they an ad comes on, I generally pay to get rid of them. I also, like I said, it doesn't matter anymore though because everything is, like, embedded within the story, so you just see it all the time. I was also thinking, and I know you don't watch and this is not in your watching realm, but I just wanted to, like, throw it out there because I can't help myself. I feel like the advent of reality TV in the Bravoverse has also gone a long way into, blurring the line. I mean, obviously, it's blurred the lines between, like, script and reality, but it's blurring the lines between ad and persona, and, I mean, they just encapsulate a world in which people are products, right? And half of what they spend their time doing is shopping, and so you are literally shopping with them, and, um they are nothing but sort of consumer fantasies in a way that's like a very real consumer fantasy as opposed to like again watching your friends and neighbors and having a consumer fantasy about a particular necklace or or a house or a car or the Maserati. But you're like, well, look at them, and this is what they have, and it's another slippage between sort of the reflection and production angle of consumerism. I think. Do you have
I
you ever watched any? Have you ever watched any Bravo?
I've never watched Bravo in my life.
Okay.
I have heard so much about the like HGTV. I've never seen it in my life, but it's discussed so much that I've
Yeah,
got a pretty good idea of what it's like. And that is why this is one of my recent headlines was why all American houses look the same. And it's because people are watching these shows. How many different houses do most people go into unless you're a realtor or something?
yeah,
Oh, you only see the houses of yourself and your close friends. But if you're watching a show about home remodeling, then you get the idea, I'm pretty sure, that, everyone should be having, I don't know, I think granite countertops are out now, but whatever is in, everyone should
yeah,
have this countertop. Everyone should have this kind of window treatments. Everyone should have this kind of flooring
yeah,
and type of high-end appliance. And, like,
right.
not everybody has these things, but you start to think that everyone has them, and no one is doing a show, to my knowledge, about a house like mine. I painted my parlor ruby red. I painted my kitchen floor blue, Delft blue, to go with like all of our Dutch uh,
Nice.
tiles and things. I mean, people always say it looks nice. Maybe they're all being polite, but I take a lot of risks with my home decor. You can't see it in this room, but I should do a live sometime. I kind of did last week, actually, in our kitchen.
Yeah, we got to see the kitchen last time.
Yeah, you saw a little bit of my kitchen.
Yeah,
Any
people loved the tin backsplash that you had.
Yeah, well, that was not like a standard choice, but,
Mhm.
there are a lot of things that I've done in my house that are kind of non-standard, and it's probably because I don't want my house to be that everybody else's gray or beige and white. I mean, that's fine, some people do love that, they should paint their house that way, but a lot of people are decorating their house for the hypothetical future purchaser.
Yeah,
And when you start doing anything, not because it's what you like, but because you think it's what other people like, it's the same thing when women dress for the male gaze. It's the exact same thing as people decorating their house for the
right,
future future home shopper gaze.
right.
And
Dressing.
do something because you like it for yourself. You don't have to dress
Yeah,
or do anything or decorate your house to please other people. You should be pleasing yourself and your family members.
yeah. Well, this kind of comes back to where we started. It's probably a good place to end. We're about time. But it's basically the idea that we've been talking about, and the idea that you wrote about the advertised American as opposed to the average American. The advertised American is someone who's out there for a consumer gaze, right? It's somebody who's acting and operating fully within this like capitalist gaze of consumerism and not somebody who's expressing preferences or who has a clear and distinct, identity, be it, wherever it is on the socioeconomic spectrum. Like it's all just this one type of sort of aspirational consumer who's assumed to have all of these same types of wants and desires, right? And so this advertised American is like very, as people have called it, very flat, right? It's a very flat and it's a very it's a very un sometimes uninteresting, right? And uncreative version of a somebody who's subject to a consumer gaze.
I think that your clothes, your house, your car, and your belongings should not be the interesting thing about you, and you cannot buy an interesting life. I'm sorry, but, you can't. That's not for sale. You can look on Amazon, it's not there. If you wanna have an interesting life, you have to make that yourself. That is a do-it-yourself project, and you should not be copying off of other people because, the way I live my life is not gonna be the way that somebody else usually wants to live their life. I don't think anyone's copying my lifestyle necessarily.
Yeah,
There's a reason for that. It's because that's very particular to just me. And when I see somebody who lives in just a very standard lifestyle, I don't see that and think, "I wanna be that way." I see that and think, "But what would you really like? Is this really, really, really your heart's desire?
yeah,
Or would you actually, instead of wearing whatever color's in, wouldn't you have you thought about buying a purple dress?
yeah,
Have you thought about
right.
paint room a different color, driving a different car,
Yeah.
doing not going on vacation where all the Instagram people are going on vacation. You can do something that you really wanna do. You don't need someone spending millions of dollars to tell you, "This is the thing you're supposed to wanna do."
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right. I think it's an old problem, but I think the new version of it, which is what you kind of told us in your post, is that the new version of this is that the thing that everybody wants is now actually the same all across socioeconomic classes, and it's not even like it used to be, maybe somewhat more distinct and more divided up into class-based sort of understandings of aspiration. But now it's all this unified advertised American, right?
Mhm. Yep. So,
Um,
I tell
okay.
everybody
Last thought, what would you like? Is there anything, if you could change one thing about advertising, or if you could have one type of ad or show on, what would you like?
you know what? I would like to make an advertisement that goes out to everybody, which I say, "Look, you probably don't need most of the things that you've seen advertised to you recently. When you see an advertisement, or when you even suspect you're seeing an advertisement embedded in a show, ask
Uh-huh.
yourself, would it benefit the person selling this or would it benefit me?" And 99 times out of 100, that is not a product, a drug, or a treatment, or a skincare routine, or whatever that you actually need. There, it would benefit the person selling it, but it probably, in most cases, would not benefit you. Would you have wanted this thing if you didn't see the ad? I I just really think that people, and they should definitely teach their kids this too, should approach ads with much more skepticism and think, before you spend $100 on something, what could that $100 do if you left it in the bank?
Or gave it away to somebody.
Yes, you could do a million things better than buying dress number 200 that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is gonna bring us back one more time, because I can't help myself, bring us back one more time to John Hamm. And it's just like in Mad Men when that their whole, did you watch Mad Men?
I did. I got kicked.
You remember, like, the whole thing is, like, they're trying to basically figure out how to sell cigarettes when everyone is, like, starting to understand that they kill you. And remember they take out a full page ad basically, like, saying, like, "Yes, cigarettes are bad for you." And it was the counter move, right, that you would expect from the advertisers.
Well, I remember this, and, like, the funny thing is I had never even had a streaming service until about 2017. I got Netflix for the first time because I wanted to watch Mad Men.
See? Yeah.
Because because I had gotten a job at an advertising agency, and I thought it might be, not only is it apparently a good show, but I think I might learn something from it, and I did.
Yeah.
Because advertising is so much more sophisticated now. In the old days, it was, "You should buy this product
Right.
because, no, you
Right.
need," and now John Hamm his character cut through all that by just saying, "It's toasted."
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
We're not even gonna talk about the cancer thing. We're just gonna say, "It's toasted."
It's toasted, and then I think it's a couple seasons later, they take out the ad, which then they're like, "Toast smoking's bad for you." So, I mean, to be clear, they had it's a hard job selling toxic things, but people do
Mm,
it every day in the pharmaceutical industry and in cleaning products. So, there it is. So yeah, he's come around full circle from Don Draper to advertising or not advertising potentially the Cartier cufflinks in his new show. So yeah.
and I also wish that celebrities would not do ads. I heard Cyndi Lauper hawking, I don't even know what it was, some I heard her hawking something on Pandora the other day. I'm like, "Oh, man, Cindy, come on." I listened to, Girls Just Wanna Have Fun 7,000,000 times.
Yeah.
That not bring you enough income?
It is
What?
funny because I did, like, I was listening, there was some again, pharmaceutical ad, and I was not paying attention, but I heard Sarah Jessica Parker's voice, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like,
Come on.
"What? Come on, stop it. Just stop it." So, yeah. Well, that's probably those are good closing words, "Just stop it." It's a good mantra for us all, "Just stop it.
Just don't buy anything if
Just
it's
stop it."
don't buy
Yeah,
anything if you really need it. Think about it for a day or 2 or so. You'll be surprised how much stuff you don't need. Just stop it.
just stop it. All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Like I said, love to talk about TV. So, maybe we'll be back with more TV and ads. And in the meantime, when the um when the post goes up on notes, tell us what you like too. Would love to hear it.
Yeah, and I wanna say one last thing, my disparagement of, Jennifer Coolidge was only tongue in cheek. I actually think she is wonderful. I hope she's not making ads for whatever.
Right. Only her character. You only disparage her character, not her person. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks for everybody for showing up
Accurate.
to
All right, guys. Have a good afternoon. Bye.